ये ज़मीं रुक जाए, आसमां झुक जाए, तेरा चेहरा जब नजर आए.
Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Pleasure.
Like I was just mentioning, your playlist is one of the most popular at office.
Thank you.
It plays throughout the day. So
Wow.
very excited to be doing this.
That means a lot to me. Thank you.
So we've been doing like a lot of research on you, on your life, and we thought
all the good things are correct.
Yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
all the good things.
All the bad things are nonsense. I completely deny them. It's just a conspiracy against me.
Okay, fine. So we'll find out what's true and what's not true. But we thought it's appropriate to start with this question.
Sure.
In 2006, you'd mentioned that your doctor had given you 6 months to live, and cut to 2020 when you won a Padma Shri in India. How would you describe the journey?
Nothing less than a dream.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way I can describe it. In fact, not just from 2006 to 2020, but my entire life is like a miracle, like a whole bunch of miracles and dreams coming true.
Yeah.
And I still, by the grace of God, am being blessed with a tremendous amount of opportunities and blessings.
Yeah.
There's no other way to actually describe it, really, because I mean, if you look at that moment that you're mentioning in 2006, for example, you know, they had given me this ultimatum of 6 months to live because I was grossly overweight.
Yes.
I was 230 kilos.
Yeah.
The doctor had said 6 months, if you don't do anything, 6 months, you're going to go. And it was a do or die situation. A lot of people started wondering, why has he suddenly gone into a drastic weight loss? Is it because of at that time, there were all kinds of speculations.
Yeah.
Some people were thinking that maybe it was because I fell in love with someone, or some people thought that maybe I was doing it for some film role or something like that. No, I was doing it for survival.
Yeah.
It was a do or die.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was doing it because I wanted to live.
Yeah.
You know, there was no better motivation than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people I know, you know, a lot of people had given up on me also.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of people, very close people around me, who thought that I couldn't do it. And I don't blame them. I don't, you know, because it is a you know, Herculean task. It is a huge mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Even I didn't know whether I would be able to do it because it seemed very impossible at that particular moment in time.
Yeah.
But I was then, you know, fortunate enough to come across a great, wonderful nutritionist who walked me through it and explained to me that, listen, if you look at it as a bulk, it's going to look like a mountain. It's going to look like Mount Everest. But if you take baby steps, you will be able to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I focused on. Rather than looking at the larger picture, I just focused on baby steps and just took it one step at a time.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that I'd end up losing so much of weight.
Yeah.
You can never sort of walk into a situation like that and sort of have this attitude that, oh, well, I'm going to go and lose 120 kilos.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
yeah,
you know,
it's a task.
You just don't do that. I mean, I have people coming up to me and saying, "Mere 3 kilo kam nahi ho rahe." You know? I'm like, get out of here. You know, so, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it is difficult to lose weight. Finish.
Yeah.
I myself, before that moment, I myself went, tried to go on countless number of diets, which I was not able to do.
Yeah.
So even I was not sure whether I'd be able to stick with it.
Right.
But nevertheless, I was, you know, able to do so. And I lost about almost 120 kilos.
Yeah.
And then, you know, moving on, I changed my lifestyle. I kept focused and yes, you know, I mean, if you want to quickly cut to Padma Shri, I didn't see that coming from anywhere. I mean, you know, you see, Padma Shri is not an honor that you get for one single piece of work.
Absolutely.
It's about a body, it's about your life
Yeah.
till now.
Yeah.
It sort of brings together the celebration and honors your entire journey till that moment in time.
Right.
And so it was not for one particular piece of work. It was for a multiple amount of things that I had been doing and working towards. And frankly speaking, I was doing my work as I do even today, without the thought that oh, okay, you know, this what I'm doing right now, I see this award. No, I that's not the way I work. I just whatever it is I do, big or small, I do it as if it is my ultimate piece of work. People turn around. For example, people ask me even, what is your favorite song? I always say that my favorite song is the song that I'm working on right now. For me, that song is my life. That composition is my life. I think that's going. I put my all into that, without the thought whether it's going to get an award, not get an award. That's not important to me. I must put my all into it. That's how I work. And I was extremely taken aback and honored, overjoyed, overwhelmed by the fact that the government of India and the people of India saw that, acknowledged it, and honored me with that. Nothing could be greater a feeling than that.
Yeah, it's a celebration of a life that you turned around, quite literally.
If I am getting an award for that, an acknowledgement, on top of that, that is something.
It's a cherry.
It's not just a cherry, it's a cherry tree.
Okay, it's a cherry tree. You know, and in this entire time when you were talking about like the body of work and everything, it's longevity. So I want to begin from your roots, from your childhood. What was your childhood like? Like, what was your upbringing like? What was your mindset like while you were growing up?
Well, you know, unlike a lot of people who are from either the entertainment industry or from the music industry, I come from a completely non-entertainment industry, in the sense that nobody in my family has anything to do with music or the entertainment or the arts. My father himself was a diplomat. He was ambassador to 14 countries. And prior to that, my grandfather and my great-grandfather, they were originally from Afghanistan. They were from Afghanistan. My grandfather was governor to 4 provinces in Afghanistan. We belong to to King Amanullah Khan's family. So that is a very different background. But what happened was, how I got in, having said that, all of them were great patrons of the arts. They loved the arts, whether it was music, whether it was poetry, whether it was literature, whatever. And whether it was, you know, English, or whether it was, you know, right from Oscar Wilde to Shakespeare to Ghalib and Mir Taqi Mir, you know. And when it came to music, it was, you know, they loved all kinds of music. My father, in the house, there would be Dave Brubeck, and there'd be, you know, Duke Ellington, and then there would also be, you know, Mehdi Hassan, and there'd be Jagjit Singh, and there'd be Lata Mangeshkar and Noor Jahan. So there was a cross section of all kinds of music that was, and of course, film music. You know? So so I was exposed to a tremendous amount of different types of music, but nobody played, and nobody, you know,
was actively involved.
No, not at all. And it just so happened that when my father was posted to Portugal, in Lisbon as ambassador, the ambassadorial residence over there, which is usually always furnished, and you just arrive there, you know, that happened to have a music room.
Oh, wow.
So there was a music room, and there was a piano in that room.
Wow.
So I was obviously fascinated by the piano and attracted to it. Initially, it seemed like a glorified toy. You know, I mean, I was 5 years old. and that's when I started to just mess around and just play around with the piano. And before I knew it, I was, able to work out tunes.
By yourself?
By myself. There was no
Wow.
teacher at that time.
Yeah.
And so slowly and gradually, I started to, make sense out of it. And as we started to progress, my father saw that I have a tremendous amount of inclination towards music.
Yeah.
And so he started to encourage me. But he was very clear about one thing. He said, listen, when I once, I turned around to him and I said, I hardly must have been about 10 odd years old. And I said to him, I want to be a musician. So he said, listen, I will support you in your music.
Yeah.
Anything you want,
Yeah.
I will support you.
Yeah.
I'll give you complete support. But I don't know anything about this profession. All I know is that this is a very difficult profession to make it in.
Yeah.
It's a difficult business, and I cannot guide you because nobody from our family has ever been in this, and I know nobody in this field. So for my sake and for your own sake, get yourself a solid education. So so that I am, I'm a little at peace in my heart that you've got something to back up on,
Yeah.
in case it doesn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did that. He sent me to the best of schools in England. I went to university. I studied law, and so on and so forth, and became a barrister. And then I said, okay, now let me pursue my passion. And he said, yep.
Now
go
you
ahead.
can now
do whatever you want.
But through these years when you were pursuing either your higher education, your college, obviously studying to become a barrister, were you still actively creating music?
Oh yes, absolutely. Throughout.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, my music was going hand in hand. Like I said, my father said that I'll support you completely throughout these years, but side by side also.
Parallelly,
do your education. So I was doing both.
Yeah.
And
who was your favorite musician or artist when you were growing up?
Oh gosh. I mean, there were so many, really. I mean, in the sense that let's look at it from the perspective of Western classical music.
Yeah.
Western classical music, of course, Beethoven was one of my favorites, is my favorite. You have Bach, you have Schubert, you have Mozart, of course.
Yeah.
Then when it came to jazz, there was Duke Ellington, Louis Satchmo, Louis Armstrong, B.B. King, Elvis Presley, the Beatles, Chuck Berry, Fats Domino. And then when it came to Indian classical music, you have Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma, who's my guru also, who was my guru also, God bless his soul. Ustad Amjad Ali Khan Sahab, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Ustad Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab. And then when it comes to film music, there was RD Burman, RD Burman, Madan Mohan. Then when it comes to pop music, there was Phil Collins, Sting, George Michael, Michael Jackson.
Wow, this is a very succinct list.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Dire Straits, Marillion, AC/DC. I mean, it's this is so many.
Yeah.
So I've been, and then you see the other advantage I also had because of the fact that my father was constantly, being posted to different parts of the world. I used to always say that a diplomat's life is a very sophisticated, highbrow gypsy life because you're constantly moving from one place. You're not in one place 3.5 years or 3.5 years posting, and then you move on. But the good thing in that was that I was exposed to a lot of different cultures and a lot of different forms of music.
Yeah.
So I had a tremendous exposure. I mean, today, because of the internet, people have access to all kinds of music. You know, I started my career as an instrumentalist, and an instrumentalist in Indian classical music, because I started my music first with Western classical, then I went into jazz, and then I heard Indian classical music, and I wanted to play it. And my father, exposed me to Ustad Amjad Ali Khan Sahab, and then after that, I said to him, I said, I want to play this, but I can't play this. And he
Yeah.
said, why can't you play it? And I said, because my instrument is the piano. So he said, so? I said, well, nobody plays it on the piano. It's a Western instrument.
Yeah.
He turned around to me and said, well, if nobody's played it, that doesn't mean that it can't be played. You be the first one to play it.
Wow.
And I said, come on, that's not possible. It's not meant. He said, listen, what do you think? These instruments, somebody starts them.
Yeah.
I mean, the tabla did not become the tabla the way we know it today.
Yeah.
From the day go. It was first the pakhavaj. And Amir Khusro split it into two. And from here, it went like this. And then it became a tabla.
Yeah.
I mean, the accordion is from where the harmonium comes from.
Yeah.
Somebody did that. And so I said, okay, fine. So he said, you study the history of the piano and try and see where it connects. So when I started to study the history of the piano, I realized that the piano and the Kashmiri santoor belong to the same musical family.
Oh,
and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And very few people do.
Yeah.
Then I should learn how to play Indian classical music from a santoor player. That's when I got in touch with Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma ji.
Yeah.
And so I learned how to play santoor and understand the santoor and the techniques. And then I got a hold of the piano. Then I combined the two characteristics together. And voila, I came up with a sound that then I introduced to the world as the first person to play Indian classical music on the piano.
That's fantastic.
Which was something that, again, I get the credit for, but the idea, the person who pushed me to it was my father, which I'm indebted to, because I really resisted him, and he said, no, try it.
Yeah. He opened up your perspective from being limiting to,
Yeah. I mean, his philosophy in life was, there's no such thing as impossible.
Yeah.
But the thinking makes it so.
Yeah. Wow. And you were 18 when you released an album, right? That's a very young age. How did that happen? How were you feeling when that happened?
Yeah. We were actually doing a concert tour together.
Yeah.
It was actually my first concert tour in which I was playing Indian classical music on the piano. And these people got me and him together. And one of the live concerts that we did was recorded and then released as an album. It was a great feeling. It was a wonderful feeling. It was, like I said, my life has been a very miraculous journey. I didn't see that coming at that time, and it was wonderful. It was very, very wonderful. On a funny note, I was in Dubai just a little while ago, and there was I was there for some work, and the person who was driving me around, the driver, for the first 2 days, he was very quiet. And on the third day, he sort of built up the courage and he sort of said, sir, मैं आपको कुछ कह सकता हूँ? तो मैंने कहा, बोलिए. So he said, sir, मैं आपका बहुत बड़ा fan हूँ. Now, this was a guy who was, balding, and he seemed like a fairly good age, So he said to me, मैं आपका बहुत बड़ा fan हूँ. मैं कहा, जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. Thank you very much. I'm very kind of you. Then he said, sir, मैं आपको बचपन से सुन रहा हूँ. And I'm like,
how?
Bachpan se? I mean, look. So I was like really, really disgusted by that, because he was trying to make me feel as if so I turned around to him and said, हाँ, मैं भी बचपन से ही बजा रहा हूँ. So मैंने भी अपने दिल को खुश कर दिया. But the truth is that I have been playing.
You have been playing all your life. And do you remember what you did with your first paycheck?
I gave it to my mother.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I gave it to my mother.
What was the amount?
I think it was, we were in Dubai in those days. I think it was about 2,000 dirhams.
Okay.
I'm talking about the 80s,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then my mother immediately gave it back to me. You've earned this. And then with that, I went for Umrah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I tried to do the right thing, as it were. I wanted blessings.
How sweet.
Yeah.
And for someone whose career was just peaking, you were very young when you first got married. I believe you were around 22. So how did that decision happen? What was happening parallelly in your life?
Well, there are a lot of things that one does when I'll tell you something. A lot of people turn around and ask questions that if you were to live your life again, what would you change, and so on and so forth. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
Because, the point is that, yes, I was very young. I was hardly 22, 23 years old when I got married initially. And, it was one of those things where it was not, not meant to be, and so on and so forth. And, but I have absolutely no regrets.
Yeah.
That was an experience. It was a wonderful moment when it lasted, and it was not meant to work, and God bless you, move on.
Yeah.
And
you were also very young when you became a father. So did that change you? And did that change, did any of these instances have an impact on your music?
No. I think it was a blessing also.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
And Azan is a wonderful boy, and I feel blessed to have him in my life, and he is doing wonderful, wonderful work.
Yeah.
He's very focused, and he's been very well brought up.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, very happy the way life has turned out. And like I said, I'm very, very grateful to God for everything that He has blessed me with.
Yeah.
And especially Azan.
How sweet. And after that, how did Bollywood happen in a very mainstream way? How did that experience kind of make you feel?
Well, I came to Mumbai in 1999 and didn't know what to expect. I had no clue what to expect. I actually came at the invitation of Asha ji.
Yeah.
Asha Bhosle ji wanted to record an album at that time. We had already recorded an album.
Yeah.
And it was there sort of waiting for a release. But in the meantime, she wanted to do another album. And for which she had asked me to come over, for which I did come over. And so I was there. I was here for this particular purpose. And then I was very graciously hosted by her. I stayed in fact, she put me up at that time at RD Burman ji's house, which was in Santa Cruz, North Avenue. And I was there for a good 8-9 months. And that's when I also played the album, which later turned out to be Kabhi to Nazar Milao, to Magna Sound, which was a label at that time. And they immediately loved it. And it got released, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah.
I mean, the album went through the roof. It was very, very successful. And that's when I...
formally.
Yeah, and again, like I had mentioned earlier, I was initially an instrumentalist.
Yeah.
I had never thought that I would become a singer. That was not in my to-do list.
Yeah.
But slowly and gradually, I started singing, and people started to appreciate it. And before I knew it, people knew me more as a singer as opposed to a pianist or a composer.
Yeah.
But today, of course, people know me on all these aspects.
Yeah.
But initially, they didn't know that I played the piano as well.
Yeah.
Although that was my first love.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's how I started, and it was an incredible debut album.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very grateful to Asha.
What an album to have as a debut.
Yeah, it was a dream album.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have asked for a better album. And of course, Asha ji played a very, very
Important.
big, important role in this entire thing. So I look upon her as a musical mother. You know, she's a, you know, I respect her like a mother. So she's been wonderful.
Yeah. And was there ever a dichotomy that you faced? Because you were born and raised in Pakistan. Born
in England.
In England. But you were raised, you moved a fair bit, right? From Pakistan, Dubai. You were also in Canada for a bit.
Yes.
Was there ever a dichotomy in terms of where you should eventually be? Right? Like in terms of whether it's music or whether it's to live. How do you kind of make that decision eventually?
You know, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. You know, you can't plan these things. No matter, I mean, people talk about those 5-year plans and, you know, 10-year plans or whatever. Good luck with that. You know, I mean, you know, that's why the good old saying that, you know, man proposes and God disposes. You can't plan these things. I came, like I said, I came initially in 1999 for a project. One project. And for those 8 months, I was living out of a suitcase.
Wow.
You know, and then after that, when I decided to move out from Panchamda's house and take up a place of my own, again, I was not sure how long that was going to last. So I moved into a rented, furnished apartment. I didn't want to buy any furniture because I said, what am I going to do with that furniture if I still don't know where my life is heading? So I was leading a very ad hoc kind of an existence because I just didn't know where this was going to go. You know, I need to constantly reinvent myself. I need to move. I need to keep on challenging myself. I cannot, I mean, just to give you an idea, when I was 230 kilos, I mean, I was not 230 kilos all my life. I was very, you know, fit and thin in my teens. You know, I used to play rugby. I used to play squash. I was a squash champion of Dubai, Abu Dhabi. I used to play polo. I used to do horseback riding. I used to do tent pegging. So, you know, this weight came on to me much later. But I had a whole bunch of clothes in my wardrobe, which were of my thin days. And my mother turned around one day and said, listen, why don't you get rid of these? Get rid of these clothes because they're taking up too much of space. You can use these cupboards for something else. And I said, no. One day I'm going to shift into, I will fit into them. And my mother was like, excuse me, wake up and smell the coffee. I mean, you know, do you see? And so, you know, diplomatically, she would turn around and say to me that, उस वक्त नए कपड़े खरीद लेना, fashions change हो जाएंगे. You know, I said, nah, a lot of these are very, very classic. They're not going to change. So, you know, I was not accepting mentally, I was not accepting my weight either, which is probably why ultimately I did manage to lose it because of the fact that I had mentally not accepted it. I needed, you know, so therefore, I am consistently wanting to change things in life and look for new challenges because that's what keeps me going. You know, and I think that's important.
It's a mindset thing.
I don't like being stagnant in anything, you know, for better or for worse.
And now that you've made it in Bollywood, what was that experience like, say, with your family and your friends who, you know, knew that you had this massive passion for music and now they can, you know, some of the most popular songs were yours. Do you remember something that, especially your father, because he seems like such a profound influence in your life, said to you when he heard this music?
Well, of course, I mean, needless to say that my success was extremely beloved by my family. And in particularly my father. Because my father literally nurtured my talent. And any achievement that I would have, I think the first person that I would love to share it with was my father. Because the kind of feeling that he would get of happiness was something that gave me tremendous amount of happiness. And I think one of the most memorable moments were two, actually. Number one, when I was touring South Africa, and I requested my father to join me in that particular tour. And we were in Cape Town. We had come to Cape Town for the concert in Cape Town. And we arrived a day before the concert. And so the promoters and everyone, they took us on a big drive to, just to show us Cape Town.
Yeah.
And so the car that my father and I were sitting in, the local radio was playing. And while the local radio was playing, suddenly they played my song.
Wow.
And my father just looked at me in absolute, this incredible, I'll never forget that expression of his of pride and happiness and joy. And he said, Bache, you know something? This is the tip of the world, Cape Town.
Yeah.
I could never imagine that one day would come when I would be sitting in the tip of the world and be listening to your music on the radio.
Wow.
I mean, he said, do you see the blessing of God in this? And I certainly did see the blessing of God in this, but the greatest blessing was to see the happiness in my father's face in this achievement.
Yeah.
And it was something that I'll never forget, because the feeling that he had as a proud father was something that meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
And I think the second most beautiful thing in the world was my father was a huge, huge fan of Lataji.
Yeah.
And, he knew literally every song of Lataji, especially from the 40s and 50s and the 60s. And so he really, he loved both the sisters, but Lataji had a certain place for him, which was extraordinary.
Yeah.
And when I recorded my first song with Lataji, Shayad yehi pyaar hai, the happiness that he felt was something that was very special to me.
Yeah.
Because not only was I, recording with such a legend, but I knew what that meant to him as well. So that was something that was very special for me. And
it sounds special.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was very special.
Do you remember the song in Cape Town? Which song played on the radio?
I think if I'm no, it was Ishq hota nahi sabhi ke liye, from the film Joggers Park.
Okay.
That was the song that was playing, and my father was just
in awe.
In awe.
Yeah. And given that you were so close, you've gone on record to say that when you did lose him, it was a huge blow to your life.
Yes.
So how is it that you overcame that? And
I haven't.
You still haven't?
No, I haven't. And I don't think I ever will. There's certain pains in your life, certain hurts in your life, certain wounds in your life that cannot be healed. You just learn to live with the pain. Yeah. But the pain never goes. It's just that you've learned to live with it. You cannot turn, at least with me, with my father, there's not a day that goes by when I don't think about him. And there's not a day that goes by when I don't miss him.
Yeah.
And because you see, he was my, he knew me better than I knew myself. There were times when he would turn around and say, listen, don't do this. And I would say, no, I'm fine with it. He said, listen, I'm telling you, you're fine with it right now, but 2 years down the line, you're not going to like this. And I would say, what are you talking about? He said, listen, I know you better than you know yourself, because I know that you have more of me inside you. And I know that you're not going to like this. And he was right. 2 years down the line, even less than that, I wouldn't like something, that he had already pre-warned me about. So the point is that he was my mentor, he was my guide, he was my teacher, he was my best friend. I could talk to him about anything under the sun.
Yeah.
He was my all. He was my other self.
Wow.
He was like a conscience of mine.
Yeah.
And many times if I'm in a situation, I try to get myself to think that, okay, if he were with me, what would he advise me?
Yeah.
You know, I try my level best to sort of, because he used to give me the most brilliant advice and the most selfless advice.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, my citizenship. Even though I got my citizenship in 2016, I asked him about it many, many years before that, that, you know, if I do this, what do you think? And he said, listen, I've lived my life. Now you need to lead yours. And the kind of love that India has given you, the way they've embraced you, you should also embrace them.
Wow.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And don't worry about me. I'm fine. I said, but what about the repercussions that you might have, you know? He said, forget it. I'll deal with that. You live your life.
Wow.
And this is the best route for you. You have my blessings. And so even though I got my citizenship after he had passed away, I knew that I had his blessings, which is where I felt at peace in my
like
heart.
You felt comfortable to take that step.
Yes. He truly believed, I mean, you know, like I said, he loved the music of India.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he loved India.
Yeah.
He wrote a book. About himself when he was an ADC to 3 presidents.
Wow.
Pakistan didn't want to release it. It was released in India. Look at the
irony.
Irony. I was just going to say, you know.
Yeah.
So his love affair with India was beyond, you know, this worldly thing.
Yeah.
The love and affection that he had was very different.
Yeah.
You know, and so I embraced that right from childhood from him.
Yeah.
So I miss him tremendously, even today.
Yeah.
So like I said, the pain doesn't go, you just learn to live with it.
You had his blessings for such an important decision in your life when it concerns citizenship. Did that somewhere give you strength? Because a lot was written about it. Like we've gone through so many articles where there were just conflicting opinions on both ends, right?
Yes. You see, there are many layers to this.
Yeah.
Number one, people need to understand that I'm a public figure.
Yeah.
Being a public figure, I have to accept that I'm going to be judged on what I do.
Yeah.
All right. More so today than ever before because we've got social media.
Of course.
Right. However, I'm very clear about a few things. When I create music or anything that I create, whether it is music, whether it is television, anything that I do, even this interview, for example, I'm doing this interview and there are going to be comments below and they're going to have their own take on whatever it is. Fine. I'm putting myself out for that.
You sign up for that.
I've signed up for it right now.
Figure.
And so therefore, and I am presenting my work, whether it is an interview, whether it's music, whether tomorrow it's a film, anything that I do.
Yeah.
Because I'm giving it to the public that, look, this is for you. Please, you know, tell me what you think of it.
Yeah.
By all means, I'm prepared. You're allowed to trash it. You're allowed to praise it, whatever you want.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that are not in your, domain.
Yeah.
And that is my personal life.
Yeah.
My personal life is my decision. It is not up for opinion.
Yes.
You don't have the right to give me your judgment about where I should live, what I should wear, what I should eat, what I do with my life, what religion I practice, anything. These are personal matters.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with you, in as much as I will not have the right to judge you.
Yeah.
There were some people, despite this, who volunteered their unsolicited opinions on my life and where I choose to live. Some people came up with their own reasonings.
Yeah.
That, like, for example, some people in Pakistan turned around and said, oh, he has chosen India because he's got more money over there. He's making more money over there. So, excuse me, do you have any idea what my family background is? I mean, do you have any idea that money has never been a factor in my life?
Yeah.
I have been blessed to have been born and brought up in a very well-to-do, wealthy family.
Yeah.
Money, if at all, I have given up a lot.
Yeah.
Because there's a tremendous amount of stuff that I could have inherited from there, which I've given away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is, money has never been a factor in my life to charter my destiny the way I've planned my life. I mean, money is not the reason why I'm in this. It's my passion.
Yeah.
You know, is it too difficult to accept that I decided to move here because I love this place?
It's as simple.
Can it not be as simple as that? That I just love it. Can you not? Is it too difficult to accept that I love India? I mean, what's the big deal? Why can I not just move because of love? Because I feel at home.
Yeah.
Why is it so difficult to accept that? What does an artist want at the end of the day?
Yeah.
It's love.
Yeah.
It's appreciation.
Yeah.
And the kind of appreciation and love and respect that I got over here overwhelmed me as an artist. You ask any artist that, what is the greatest feeling in the world is when people love you.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I understand why it's a big deal because of the animosity between the two countries.
Yes.
It's a political issue.
Yeah.
But the point is that I have nothing to do with politics.
So far.
I'm a musician, for heaven's sake.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to live in a country where I feel at home.
Yeah.
Finish.
Yeah.
What's so difficult? That doesn't mean that I don't have people in Pakistan who don't love me. I love everybody.
Yeah.
I love everybody who love me. Finish.
Mm.
I mean, again, like I said, I'm a simple guy. Who in his right mind is going to say, you hate me, but I'm going to still love you? Nobody does that. So you hate me? Good for you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll find another way out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll look the other way. Finish.
Yeah.
I mean, and for an artist, it doesn't matter where the love is coming from.
Yeah.
From wherever the love comes, you reciprocate.
Along this thought process, similarly, a lot has been written about your personal life as well, whether it is the marriages you've been involved with, the women you've been involved with. You seem like you're driven from the heart. So, yeah.
Ishq hota nahi, sabhi ke liye.
So what's your take on love?
Oh God, I'm an incurable romantic. I'm even in love with the idea of being in love.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a dreamer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way of describing me. I'm a dreamer. Like I said, and I'm also a Pathaan. तो Pathaan का attitude ये होता है ना कि आप थोड़े से दो शब्द प्यार के बोल दो कि हम लेट जाएंगे आपके सामने कि भाई ये छुरा है मार दो मुझे. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that. प्यार करने वालों के लिए तो हमारी जान हाजिर है.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah.
And so therefore, you will then, with that sentiment, you would understand my love for India.
Yeah.
The kind of love that I've received and I continue to receive is so phenomenal that I'm completely head over heels. Yeah. And so similarly, and of course, the other extreme is कि अगर attitude दिखाओगे तो नाखून भी नहीं दूंगा.
They're both extremes.
They're both extremes, So the thing is that, yes, of course, as you rightly said, I am I write romantic songs. I mean, my existence of purpose, or rather purpose of existence, is to create songs and music which is going to invoke
that emotion.
That emotion of romance. Yeah. So you can imagine how much of that is coming from the source. I mean, it's like when you see the sun and you see the amount of light that the sun gives and the heat that the sun gives, imagine how hot it must be at the source.
Wow.
So similarly, if I am creating music and I'm creating stuff that is romantic, it's coming from this source. Imagine how the intensity of that romance and that emotion would be over here.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful that it can actually influence you in falling in love.
Yeah.
So you can well imagine how the source is.
Yeah.
So it's like that.
Yeah.
So I am very much a romantic person, and I think I'm an emotional person. I think from the heart, and sometimes that's got me into a lot of trouble. In fact, most of the time it's got me into a lot of trouble because I reiterate that I'm a simple guy. I don't like intrigues. I am what I am in front of my people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the worst negotiator. I don't know how to haggle.
Yeah.
I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yeah.
I am what I am on the surface. If you are able to take me and not take advantage of me, great.
Yeah.
If you will take advantage of me and I find out, I will make your life a living hell.
Wow.
Because that's not the other extreme of me.
Yeah.
That you've taken undue advantage of something that I was trying to be nice about.
Yeah.
And that is in my, nature.
DNA. Yeah.
But I am not going to play games with you.
Yeah.
I'm straightforward.
Yeah.
I don't have any regrets. I mean, I've had past marriages which have not worked, but I respect those moments that I had. There were special moments, and I respect the ladies that were there in my life at that time, and it was God's will that it was not meant to be.
Yeah.
And so you move on. And sometimes you move on quietly, sometimes you do with a bit of a fanfare. It depends on how things play out. But nevertheless, I'm very blessed today that I have, after a tremendous amount of heart break and so on and so forth, I've found the love of my life, who is my wife, Roya, and we have a beautiful daughter, Madina.
Yeah.
And I finally have found love, and very grateful to God.
And you've seen so much success, right? Like from the Padma Shri, obviously, which was in 2020, you've sold out the Wembley, you've done just your body of work is phenomenal. Do you remember what was your I made it moment? Any one particular instance?
It's strange. When you're growing up, you're waiting for that I've made it moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when that moment comes, you actually don't know about it. You actually don't know about it.
Yeah.
Today, in retrospect, you can turn around and say that, all right, okay, fine, my debut album was my I've arrived moment. But I didn't know it at that time.
Yeah. So it was possibly that.
So maybe it was that when that album became a hit, maybe that was the time when I felt. But then there were times before that also.
Yeah.
In Pakistan.
Yeah.
Where you could argue and say, well, that was your I've arrived moment. Yeah. So I mean, I don't look at my life in that manner that there was any one particular moment. For me, the day I discovered that I could play Indian classical music on the piano, that for me on a personal note was a I've arrived moment.
Of course.
But it might not be for the rest of the world. So it's a very subjective thing. Yeah. Some people will say it from their perspective, what they feel, because that's the time when they felt
you probably made it.
Yeah. I mean, some people thought that I made it with Kabhi to Nazar Milao. Some people thought that I made it with Lift Karade. Some people thought that I made it with Tera Chehra, or whatever. And some people thought that I made it with Sargam, a film that I did a long time ago in Pakistan. So it's whatever does it for you.
I'm making it.
I mean, whatever does it for you. But the point of the matter is that, we're here today in 2023 talking, and God is still blessing me.
Yeah.
For me, that is my I've arrived moment. So because like I was just saying a little while ago, it's very easy to have a hit. It's very difficult to have a follow-up.
Yeah.
Because when you have a hit for the first time, nobody's expecting it.
Yeah.
And you have a whole life to create it.
Yeah.
Because nobody's waiting for it.
Yeah.
But you have 6 months to make your follow-up.
Yeah.
If not more.
Yeah.
If not less, sorry.
Yeah.
So then what you come up with after that is going to be your real test.
Okay, we have another segment. It's called Things About Me You Can't Find on Google. So we've Googled.
Oh, wow.
And not
Bring
found
it
these
on.
Okay. Your favorite music album?
Gosh, that is such an unfair question. There's so many.
It's not there. So one or two.
Okay. Okay, what I'll do is I'll go into segments. Indian classical music, Ustad Amjad Ali Khan Sahab, Rag Durga.
Yeah.
Western classical music, Beethoven, Moonlight Sonata, of course, Fifth Symphony and the 41st of Mozart. Rock and roll album, anything from the Beatles, anything from Elvis, film Abhiman, Pakiza, Aradhana, anything from RD Burman.
Yeah. Okay, lots of options.
Yeah. Pop albums, you know, I mean, anything from Phil Collins, Sting, Michael Jackson, George Michael. So I've really, really expanded this. But, you know, I mean, what kind of AC/DC, Highway to Hell, Back in Black, you know, Dire Straits, Love Over Gold album.
Now we're going to show you a photo, and you have to tell me the backstory behind that photo. There's probably something going on.
Okay. What do you want to know?
What was going on?
Okay, we were in Venice, and we were shooting a Pepsi ad.
Oh wow!
And we all three of us were in this ad. It was a wonderful, wonderful ad. And Farah Khan was directing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we spent 3-4 beautiful days shooting it, and it was great fun. This was during that tour, that first concert tour. This is, I think, 1986 or 87. 86, I think, in which my first album was also recorded.
Wow.
Myself and Zakir Hussain, and that's a fan in between. So
okay.
It was after a concert.
Last photo.
This was actually the last photo that I took with my father.
Oh.
This was actually the last photo. This was in Mumbai, in this house, and where he passed away. And this was the last time we were photographed together. And shortly after a few days, because he was suffering from cancer of the pancreas, and shortly afterwards he slipped into coma, and then he passed away. You know,
this was your last.
This was our last photo together, and one of the last moments, one of those joyous moments that were captured.
Yeah.
So it's a very special photograph.
It's a special photo.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have another, usually we ask like a last question,
Right.
but there's no way we can leave without getting you to sing.
Okay.
Just a couple of lines. Anything that you feel like.
Wow. What would you like me to sing? I mean, any request? What about you? What would you like? What would you like?
We love all your songs like Tera Chehra, or like you're just vibing car
They were prepping with by listening to your music.
This idea ki if you can sing on the piano, it will be great.
Sure,
for us.
I can do it on the piano.
Come,
Yeah,
we'll
sure.
do that.
Sure.
Yeh Zami ruk jaye, aasmaan jhuk jaye, tera chehra jab nazar aaye, ho tera chehra jab nazar aaye, yeh zami ruk jaye, आसमां झुक जाए तेरा चेहरा जब नजर आए हो तेरा चेहरा जब नजर आए जा, जाने जा। एक तारा मांग ले, आसमां ले आओ, जाने जा, जाने जा। तू खफा हो जाए, रात भी हो जाए, दिन तेरे आंचल में छुप जाए, छुप जाए। ये ज़मीं रुक जाए, आसमां झुक जाए, तेरा चेहरा जब नजर आए, हो तेरा चेहरा जब नजर आए, ओ ओ ओ ओ ओ ओ ओ तेरा चेहरा, तेरा चेहरा, हो तेरा चेहरा जब नजर
Thank you.
If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. Thank you all for being the best community and I'll see you soon.
मैंने बहुत थिएटर किया, बहुत शिद्दत से थिएटर किया। मैं 103 बुखार में भी मैं रिहर्सल में जाता था, यहाँ तक कि मैं एक बार बेहोश होकर गिर गया था एंड लोगों ने मुझे ज़बरदस्ती जाकर के कमरे तक छोड़ा था कि यार तू पागल आदमी है, तू मर जाएगा अगर इस तरह से करेगा, तुझे मलेरिया हुआ पड़ा, यू शुड नॉट बी कमिंग टू द रिहर्सल।